Right then folks, we're taking the young lady for a spin, and I'll give you my thoughts whilst we're out and about on my favourite modifications to date. I've got a number of modifications. I'll have to think about what I've done. Bought stuff from various places, made stuff myself. There she is. Let's go for a ride and I'll give you some thoughts. So, first thing, probably the thing that you can hear the most are my aftermarket silencers. I wanted to save the weight. I like a bit of noise when well, it's nice to hear the bike, but also when I use it for commuting and stuff, I think a loud bike's a safe bike. If people are sat in the cars not paying attention, you can usually wake them up a bit with the sound of the bike coming, and I know that from my own experience. And again, more horses, so let's be respectful. Sneak past carefully, keeping an eye on them. The aftermarket pipes save weight, the performance to a point, and also the noise of them alerts drivers to your presence. Now these particular cans, nice budget cans, nice and cheap. They were only, I can't exactly remember now, but 40 odd, I don't think they're 40 odd quid, that seems very cheap. Oh look, somebody is advertising something. York Motorsport Festival something.net. I'll have to look that up, see what's going on there. So yeah, these standard pipes, these aftermarket pipes were only cheap. They were 40, 50, 60 quid, something like that. They weren't a lot for the pair. Very basic. They appear to be mild steel, painted on the outside in a matte black, and they've held up well after a couple of years. I keep my bike in house at the moment mainly. Been very happy with them. I think they're just a touch on the loud side, but they're dead simple to pull in pieces and increase the packing if you wish. I might even look into that. I did do it on my wife's, who's got the same, only single silencer on her bike, so I changed some of the baffling a bit, welded in some extra bits, put some extra packing in, etc. So might look at doing a little bit of that. Next modification, I would have to say, again, one of the early things I did that really changes how a bike feels and how this bike feels are these Renthal handlebars. Now I get a lot of questions about these. So these are a Renthal, made in the UK, model number 768. Be careful when you're buying handlebars, because I think there's some that some copies of Renthals that will not be strong, or very unlikely to be very strong. Really happy with these, perfect for what I want. The grips are really nice as well that are fitted at the same time, nice and comfy, easy to get hold of, easy to hold onto the bike. I think these are known as a Renthal, I think they say 5.0 or 6.0 trials. Now that can be a bit misleading, because you might think it's like 5 or 6 inch rise, which they're not quite. They are tallish, but they're not incredibly tall. One of the main reasons that they changed the feel is obviously the added length. They're about 60mm wide, I think, something like that, and they are a lot straighter. They don't sweep back, which is what I prefer. Some people might want a swept back bar if you're just cruising around. But I find a straighter bar is more comfortable for how I ride. I know people have had issues with the position on these bikes. I think some of it's perhaps a bit perceived, I don't know. I've got quite long arms though for my size, so I don't really need to sweep the bars back, but I do always like to rise bars generally, and I have spaced these up about an inch just with kit I put together myself using some alloy spacers and some titanium bolts, which you didn't need to use titanium bolts, but they were lovely to look at, and you can't see them anymore, but still, when you can buy titanium bolts, why not? I think my third most favourite modification in terms of aesthetics, but it does also affect how the bike feels and the usefulness of the bike to me, is the tyres. They are Battle Axe Adventure Cross AX41s or something along those lines, quite a long name. Really happy with those. The rear one was a pig to fit, a really tight fitment. But it's ease ups now. When I got a puncture the other day and had to refit it, it was a lot easier than the first time around. Really happy with them. They transform how the bike looks. I like my SUV bikes where you can go anywhere, do anything to a point. Obviously I wouldn't take it on some extreme off-road because she's a heavy old girl if you dump her down, and to control off-road. But when you actually think about it, compared to a lot of the adventure bikes on the market now, which are obviously built for going off-road as well as everything else, it's probably it's lighter than quite a few of them. Certainly your big boy bikes, big boy GSs, etc. So I really like them. I do. I like messing about in the field, off-road, trails and such, and they're very composed on the road. They will obviously break loose a lot easier on a greasy surface or on a cold road, or any road I suppose, than a dedicated road tyre would do, but they're very predictable. I have made them break traction a bit once or twice, but I do take it easy. I don't go tear-assing round corners. A lot of places it's just not suitable to do so anyway, but they are very predictable. They're very similar in feel to the TKC80s. Not had TKC80s on this bike, but I had them on my last bike. They were very predictable because you can really hooligan around on the TKC80s, and these AX41s feel the same. My fuel's flashing. I ain't got a how long do these last on reserve? I don't know. In terms of aesthetics and usefulness of the bike, I like what I've done to my seat and rack. Super happy with that turned out. Just used a basic seat, a standard seat, cut it down, cut quite a lot off it. I mentioned it the other day for somebody who asked a question and I can't remember. It's probably 6 or 8 inches, something like that, that I cut off, measured from to the sort of apex of the seat. I bet everybody's looking at me and they're probably thinking, all these other bikers, oh, why ain't you got any armour on? But I have got armour on. I've got a normal shirt, underneath which I have my Nox Urbane Pro, which is very good. So don't judge me. You can probably tell from the squareness of my shoulders, the size of my elbows, that I've got gear on. Give her a little gentle off-road while I'm passing. You can see what she's like. Nice and dry today, so I shouldn't get too dirty. The suspension modifications work well. That's another point. Might as well talk about suspension whilst we're going over here. So the shocks are standard on the back. I'm hitting all the bumps here. Front's lapping it up nicely. No bottoming out. I mean, I'm only going gently, but it's not bottoming. And you'll see from my bits that I cut in that it's quite hard to bottom. I'll show you a picture. So I like this. I like the ability just to go for a nice Sunday ride, and also if I see a nice little trail like this, I'll go off and take it. It's a bit nerve-wracking when I'm on my own, to be honest, because as I said, she's a big old girl if I dump her. Now when this was a little bit more tricky, I dumped my old bike on here, but now it's been smoothed out a lot, so hopefully we'll be okay. a lot better than it was. Oh, there are some sneaky bits though where people have been misbehaving. Shouldn't be doing that, naughty off-roaders. Ooh. I hope I'm filming this. Whee! Ooh, I did that on my Grom the other day. Just as easy on this big girl. So yeah, nice just to be able to enjoy that. Ooh, look at those having a little tootle around. A CCM, don't see many of them, do you? So what I've covered so far, touched on my suspension. I'm happy with what I've done to the front end. I'd still like to raise it more, and probably a slightly stronger spring. And my mate Moto Mitch from Rally Raid has suggested potentially just putting a linear spring in. So I might investigate that a bit, and potentially some emulators. On the rear, I really like the look of the standard shock, so I'm a bit caught with those. I'm just going to keep putting up with those for now. I might even look at just spacing them to raise the bike a bit more, but the only problem is if I do go much taller, popular spot for bikers, if I do go much taller, like you just saw there off-road, it's hard to put your foot down if you get into a dicey bit, particularly with the wide seat. It's not like an off-road seat, so it takes up quite a bit of your legs trying to get on, but maybe I just need to suck it up a little bit. See, this is another good thing about bikes, and also bikes, when you put some tyres on them that allow you to get off-road a bit, you can park on bits where nobody else can get. We'll park her up and take a picture while we're here. Come on. I think I'll believe that stuff. You know what I need now? I need a Greg Villabos shoot and ride, what do you call it, wedge. That's what I need. So there we are, as referred to, exhausts, Renthal handlebars. I'll put links below to anything that I can, maybe even eBay affiliate links. Bridgestone Battle Axe Adventure Cross AX41 tyres, really happy with those for reasons as just shown on the little bit of off-road, or even just here getting off-road if this was a little bit damp. Normal tyres are a bit skiddy. Big old DR, that, don't see many of them around. Big DR 650, they're called elephants or something like that, can't remember. Seat and rack combination. And you've seen my other videos, my homemade rack. Well, I bought one rack and then modified it, and I modified it heavily. I basically cut it into pieces and made a completely new one. But it's handy to do that because you can buy them and they've got the bends and stuff. I can't do bends yet, metalwork wise, I've not got the provision. Other aesthetic modifications and functionality to a point. My headlight grille, number board, and tech bike part brackets do those as a combination. Really happy with how that looks. I think eventually I'm going to try and do something with the dials to lift them up a bit more, lift the whole thing up and tuck it back in. So I'll keep these, but I might get Silver Fox to make me some shorter ones of those if I pull the whole thing up potentially. Oh look, my gaiter has slipped off, thus allowing dirt potentially into my so we need to put those back down. That's because of my suspension increase. They're at a bit of stretch, so I could ideally do with some longer ones, but they're the longest I could find at the moment that look sensible. Obviously my big bash guard there, again homemade. Check out my video for that in terms of what I did. Basically, quick summary, made my own brackets, got Silver Fox to make me some spacers, ordered some new ironmongery, extra spacers down here. So the only brackets I've made are this one and brackets underneath. There's no bracket here. The strength of the guard there holds itself, the way it's sort of stressed at that point, so it's really strong at that point. And I've hit that with a hammer, it's really good. And that's the main ones really. Obviously raised up the fender here. Give you a view from this side. I think the lighting's slightly better, sun somewhat behind me. Really happy with how she stands now. The combination of the slightly raised front end, both from dropping the forks through and the spacer modification they've done to the forks, check out my last few videos for what I did to those, has made a big improvement. I'd still like a bit more height, but as I said whilst riding, go much taller, and I'm struggling to touch the floor. I'm only about 5'9", 5'8", 5'8.5", something like that. Got fairly long legs, but they're at the limit. Really happy with how the sump guard worked out. Just really happy with the overall modifications, to be fair. I mean, ones that aren't as noticeable, well, they're noticeable when you've got them on the original indicators. Check out my early vids for doing those. They're all stock wiring, use the original clips and such, so that seemed to be quite well received. If you want some help with your wiring, check that out. They're not amazingly bright, those, when you're out in daylight such as today, so I will probably upgrade those for the Moto Blaze pins. I've just fitted some on the back of the Grom and they are incredibly bright, the Moto Blaze pins. You really just wouldn't think that they would be as bright as they are. Another bike there. Oh, lovely Beamer Scrambler. Obviously modified the tail, made my own bracket for the tail light, a number plate on that. That's most of it. I think I've covered everything, working from the bottom. Tyres, suspension modification, fender raisers, tech bike part brackets. I got this from, oh, that's coming off, look, need to tighten that up. Tech levers, rental handlebars, my own spacers, I bought them, bought a suitable size spacer on eBay, and the bolts that go in there. Tank modified, removed the standard badges, which I really don't like, and then put these transfers on. I've not sprayed over them, so they will wear eventually, those, but I can soon refit some more if they do. Let's interrupt this for a bit more biker. Nice Triumph, great place to come bike spotting here, it's perfect. Probably scare them if I stand too close to the road with my camera, but I might be tempted. Lovely. Chug 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 chug. Exhaust cans, budget, been on 2 years, great. As I said, you can take these off and either weld in an extra baffle or put some extra packing in and stuff. There's hardly any packing in when you take them in bits. It's rather pathetic, the amount of packing. Painted both fenders black. One of the best modifications in terms of comfort, putting a dead sheep on your saddle. Krieger tank bag converter. I've got one of these on the Grom as well. This is a slightly updated version with these extra hooks which are useful. And then I've just got an Alp Kit dry bag, and then my camera bag just on top that I just clip on with these carabiners, and using the Alp Kit strap works out very well, easily accessible. The little bag is from Harrison Cameras in Sheffield. Big Boy GS sounded nice and smooth. So I've hopefully covered most things. So I forgot these. Give you crash bars. Again, I've got a video fitting those. Very happy with those. Plenty of protection. Performance modifications in addition to the exhaust. You can't see, obviously I've got the air filter, the DNA air filter that I got from Tech Bike Parts, and also the booster plug that I got from them as well. So that's pretty much all of them. Not actually spent that much money because I've gone the more budget approach, but made stuff myself, put it together myself. So very happy with how she's turning out, and about there really. Like I say, I'll probably mess about with this front end, and ideally I still would like it a little bit higher, but again, it's a compromise with your limited, or with my limited inseam. Just really love it. It's my SUV of bikes. Can do anything, can go for a long ride on it, doesn't complain on the road, and as you've just seen, you can tootle off on the trails as well. You can do everything on it. You can rack it up. I'm going to put some pannier racks on the side. I quite like the look of what Motone do for the Triumph, the little hoops, so hopefully they'll come out with some for this. But I have got some pannier racks that I might make into them myself in the interim, or for the entirety. I'll see what they come out with. But yeah, that's the old girl. There's GS waiting for his mate, our lady, on his Africa twin. All the adventure bikes, and another one. Keep surprising them, don't they, sneaking in here. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Got lots of Enfield content on the channel. There'll be Honda content going forward, some even more of that. KDA's Kawasaki Army Bike project. Got another little, got a big project coming up with a 2-stroke Kawasaki. That'll be interesting. If we can resurrect that from the ashes, pretty much. It's a bit knackered. That's all I've got to say. Ride safe.